was spurred by your ALC. So part of your ALC for next year have committed to put their 401s outside their doors so that you can see what every ALC member is committing to. So if they don't do it, you can just look at it and laugh at them. You can go require accountability. But it is very exciting because one of the things that help you succeed at a high level is accountability. Right? And the more people that you're putting it in front of, the more people you put it out there, the more it creates pressure, but it also makes it better. What's that? No pressure, no diamonds, right? So if you want to be a diamond star real estate agent, you usually need more accountability on that. To do that accountability, we use 401s. 401s were developed by our founder, Gary Keller, who was a multi-billionaire. So if he does it, we do it, right? So he has created a 411, and what it means is sort of backwards, you have 414 in theory. But you start with your annual goal, one year annual goal, goals for the month, 4 weeks in the month.
Real quick, we're gonna retract a little bit. My name is Rich Gibbens.
Oh, yeah.
I run John's team. I'm part of the ALC. I've been in the industry for 3 years, 4 years now, something like that. Mega agent, producer, something like that. We did over 20 million last year. We're probably going to do about 16 to 18 this year, even with the downturn. We're a little bit off of what we'd like to see, but that's a little bit about myself. I'm pretty new to this, but I live through my 401 that John helped me create myself, and then looking at all top agents, top producers, they live like a life by design, right? So you get to pick whatever you want. You get to go after that, and this helps you track that and build this, holding yourself to a higher level.
So, what we want to see, and you can see there's 4 categories up there, and I'm going to say this: there's a half-day training on this. We're doing like the down and dirty 1 hour training. So if I seem to go too fast, that's fine. Ask questions. It really is amiable, and for most of you, you may have heard like a 1 through 5 GPS business plan. Unless you're a big team, you probably don't need a 1 through 5. You're not going to be that complicated of a business to do it. You can literally, if you're an individual agent, for the most part, run your life. Run your business off of 1 plan. But the 4-1 plan is really to keep you accountable. If you put your annual goals up there, and then you decide, hey, in January or December, what do I have to do in December or January to make sure I meet that goal by the end of the year? And then you say, okay, if I have this monthly goal, what would I need to do this week 1 to make sure that I meet that monthly goal by the end of week 4? Makes sense.
Right. And the good news about it is when you have that level of accountability and you check in with yourself weekly, you can check with yourself daily, but you really want to sit down either Friday night or Sunday night, right, depending on how you do your week, and say, okay, what did I do last week? And you can either write yourself a letter for Friday evening or Sunday evening, like, hey, this is what my week looked like, and then reverse engineer what you're going back to, right? So like, let's say, for instance, we just did our business planning clinic for 2023, and our goal was 100 transactions. We listed out exactly how many deals are going to come from open houses, how many come from affiliated business or referral partners or past clients, how many are coming from cold calling, etc. Right? And I broke it down here, and I'm actually starting it this week on, okay, this is going to be my habits going into next year on how we get to 100 transactions, which will net which are gross over $1 million in profit, right? And we're all personally make over $350,000 next year. That's what my goal was financially, right? And so we broke it down. Okay, so starting this week, right? It's 100 contacts for myself, 3 appointments, signing 2 buyers, and signing 1 listing, finding 2 new escrows, earning 2 new escrows, right? Earn your business. But if I don't do that, then I can say, okay, what does the next 3 weeks look like? What areas do I need to improve on? Do I need to double down on open houses? Do I need to double down on lead gen? Do I need to come on Saturday and make 4 hours of phone calls? What does that look like, right? But the beauty of this is on the personal side, you say, what do you want to do with your life, right? So if you look at my 411, so if you don't know this about me, I am a veteran. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm also a foster. So those 2 areas, those 2 commonalities between those 2 different groups of people, there's a lot of homelessness involved, a lot of drug addiction. Right? My idea of my perfect life is to end homelessness for veterans and foster, right? And so like breaking it down, that's my big dream. And then, okay, well, with the business side, how can I move that to make sure I accomplish that as a human?
So I want to drive this, and the reason it has personal fears you should always build this, start with your personal goals first. What you want to say is, what do you want to do this year on the personal side? And you can see in Rich's, he has increased credit score to 70, one vacation, weigh 180 pounds. You can see my annual goals are Izzy, my daughter, graduate high school, teach her to driving. Ben, who's my son, daily life skills. If you don't know, he's autistic, so I gotta always remind him. So I'm trying to build those habits so when he leaves the house, he has those habits already. He doesn't struggle. So is the answer to that. You had to maintain a weight 205, do 2 half marathons for next year. Increase my relationship. I could even say like increase my relationship with my wife to a romantic level. You know, what does that look like? And it's hard to measure that. And it sounds stupid, but like if you don't focus on it, it won't. I found that in marriage, it doesn't happen unless you focus on it, right? And so I always have a goal where I'm focusing on my wife because I want to do something to improve my relationship. Bird for properties, which means important investment for properties next year. So you can see that's my personal goal. Now, if I took those personal goals and I actually quantified them, how much money would it be to bird for properties? How much time do I have to spend on helping my daughter graduate high school and learn to drive and teach them those skills? Those are hours. How am I going to set those hours aside every day? It'd be better if I did that with my son after school every day. What kind of work day would I have to work with? To have to get off and pick him up at 3 o'clock after school and do work on those skills after school with him every day, or maybe 3 days a week, right? So what you want to do is start thinking about, it's not just money, but it's also time, your schedule. But what do you have to do to put time toward it to make sure it happens, right? And so you want to start with your personal. If you have personal stuff that costs time or money, you need to start quantifying those time and money aspects. And then you want to put your personal goals there, and your financial goals should mimic, at least the financial side should mimic what you're trying to achieve on your personal goal side. Eventually, you're going to get a number, whatever that personal number is, that financial number you want to achieve. Say you want to invest a certain amount of money, you want to buy a property, you want this much money in retirement, whatever you want to do. I just want to make this amount of money. Then that determines how much business you do.
Does that make sense?
You go off possibility. Remember, because we believe your business is a tool for achieve your perfect life. So the business unto itself is not the goal. The goal is to use your business to achieve your perfect life. So this is why this structure is. So you got to do annual goals. So you can see annual goals. Our team is 100 transactions. And we built that because Rich said he wants this much money next year, and Taylor on our team said she wants this much money this year. And I said, I want this much money from the team. And we said, okay, if we have to run it all, what would it look like? And it backed out all these 100 deals. So we said, okay, we make everything work financially. So he can meet his financial goals personally. So I can meet my financial goals personally. So Taylor can meet her financial goals personally. We backed it out to 100 deals. We have to do 100 deals. So we said our number one thing in January, because it's December, we got to line up 9 deals in January this month, right? Because if we can get it in escrow now, it doesn't close till January. So we're going to line 9 deals up this month to get 9 line escrows this month. So we're hustling to get to 9, right? So does that make sense? Yes. Okay. If you don't have an annual goal, who has annual goals right now?
For 2023.
So it can be monetary, it can be units, it can be whatever. We don't have to be super complicated. But if it is monetary, we can help you. It's probably more a one-on-one conversation. We can help you back that down to an actual unit number, depending on your expenses. But you want to put your goals in there. So everyone, you should have a blank one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just to help you write. Now we have an electronic. We just have a Google Sheets version of this. We will send you a blank one so you can use it more. We find it's easier just to type it in and do all those other things. But it's helpful right now in the class if you just write it out and then transfer it to the electronic file. Makes sense? So if you want in there, you can cut it in half and put personal, financial. Write down what's your annual goal. Business wise, what you want to do on the personal side. And you can see, Rich and I, we have 3 or 4 personal goals, right? So you don't have to have just one, but you want to have some goals that you want to line out that you can do with 2023. When I think that is saying, make them big, make them something that like No offense, and increasing my relational life to a romantic level seems pretty daunting to me, actually. So. Because I'm not a romantic guy, right? So like, I'm gonna have to get out of my box a little bit on this one. Even burning for properties is a lot for me. How am I gonna have that time? I'm literally gonna find the time to. So I have to turn a house over every quarter, every 3 months, which is possible. But how do I do that and not take away from the rest of my business? Right? So those are things like it's outside of my box, right? So you want something that's gonna make you a little bit outside of your box, take you a little bit farther.
One thing to remember when you're writing your goals for 2023 is you're intending to make real estate a career until you retire, right? So remember that your big picture is 5-10 years down the line, your big dream, your big why, right? Like it took me a little bit to really dive into my personal self and really find out it's mostly financially to start as most people are. And I was like, well, I'm passionate about something. And that's why we built our business the way we do, right? It's like I'm passionate about ending homelessness for veterans. So that's why I work hard. Like I wake up excited to go to work because my end all be all, I know it's there. So like remember when you're writing your goals to have the big picture of why you're even here.
And you can see how Rich is in mind. We have a one thing. We just personally added this category one thing because it's good to have. We like to see the big picture all the time. Like on mine is my personal side is I like to get to the point of 200,000 in passive income annually. I can have 1 year. If there's things that are money coming into me passively, but I don't work on daily, that comes in, I would be my one thing. And you can always change it. They'll say these goals are hard fast, but if you want something that you want to get to a point where you see a big picture in the future, 3 years, 5 years down the road, where you're going to see something that's really you want to attain. I want my life to be like this. I would like my relationships to be like this, like my business to be like this.
It's not the 10 commandments. It's not written in stone. Right? Your life is going to change. You might have different passions later on, especially if you have family or anything like that, like if you're growing a family or anything like that. It could definitely change. So it's not set in stone exactly what you want to do. I do know personally for me, like veterans and foster youth, like that's something that's my life. So just remember, it's not a destination. It's a relationship with yourself.
You'll have a family, things will change, right? Kids leave your house, things will change, right? So the issue, you're single, things will change, right? So don't knock your goal, just keep your goal. It's okay if it changes, it doesn't matter, you can always pivot. But if you're going for that. Everyone have their personal goals written down, at least 1 or 2. Annual goals, business. People have that.
So if you're a newer agent, you're like, hey, I want to sell 12 homes next year. That's really simple to say, do the math. Okay, so your monthly goal is sell 1 home. And then you can break it down to weekly. How many open houses are you doing? How many contracts?
Yeah, what activities are we going to do?
What activities behind that are going to move that forward so you can do 12 transactions?
All right. Everyone got their annual goal? Some annual goal. Some annual job, business goal, some annual personal goal. All right. Now we're going to monthly. All right. On your monthly, I want you to think about each of your goals and think about what would you have to do in January to achieve that goal by the end of 2023. That month, what would you have to accomplish in January to meet the goal by the end of 2023? And so, for example, I'll use my romantic one. On my monthly goal, I said, gratitude nightly with Rihanna, with my wife. Walk daily in the evening with Rihanna. That's not even super romantic. But I read that there's a guy who spoke at Family Room who was a happiness guy. He said, it was funny. He said, they did this study and they paid couples at night in bed when they're before they go to bed, in bed. And they do a gratitude about each other. They just say something you're grateful for in your spouse in bed together. And they said, after 6 months of doing this, even if they rated the relationship poor, it automatically went up 2 to 3 points in quality of relationship. They actually viewed the relationship better. That the relationship was more healthy. And actually, and it also said something they didn't predict this, but actually they viewed their partner and they viewed their partner as more in a better way physically. They literally thought they were more physically beautiful after the 6 months, even though nothing changed. Like they lose weight, nothing changed. It just viewed them more physically just because of the gratitude. Make sense? So when I say make it more right, I take it very seriously. Like, what do I need to do physically that will change the relationship? It's not just how I look, but it's also how I interact, right? So those are examples of like this month, I'm going to try to build a habit of doing nightly gratitude with my mom. And she'll probably laugh at me and say, this is another KW Kool-Aid thing, right? Or something like that. But because she knows I'll make her do it anyway, so she's like, no. But you can see how I take it this month. I want to build this habit. And I want to note something. This is not a task list. This is not a task list. This is going to be skills, systems, habits, models I need to adopt.
What was that H
to
word?
move my life forward.
What's that H word?
What the things in the book.
The whole thing is when we start getting to activities is I don't want you to put in there, what would be a good thing?
My lead
Call my buyer tomorrow call my buyer tomorrow about this. It's not that. It's going to be working on yourself or your business. So it would be exercise daily. Exercise 45 minutes daily. You want SMART goals. So specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and trackable, right? So you want goals that you can actually measure. That means if I saw that goal and you were at the end of the year, I can say you did it or not. It can't be fungible. Like I want more love for my family. Right?
I want to read
after that, right? Like I want a great real estate business. It doesn't work, right? So you need something that's measurable. So if you have a goal that's kind of weird out there, put a number to it. What would it look like if you put a number?
So being abstract, like, hey, I want to read more. Okay, what does that mean?
So you say, I would want to read
I want to read one book a month.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
So what is that? 15 pages a day, Monday through Friday. That's 2 page book. Something like that. But
Yeah. So essentially take each personal goal you have and translate that to a monthly goal for the month.
Your agent. You don't know where you gotta put your efforts. Okay, if I put a goal, I wanna sell 2 homes per month. How do I know how to get to that goal
So-
when I haven't really?
so the yearly goal, if you say, hey, I want to do 2 homes a month, you times 12, you do that to 24.
So you should have a 24 goal,
24 goal.
2 this month, well, 2 in January would say, right?
Right.
And then this weekly goal is saying, what do you need to do right now to make sure you have 2 in January?
So you're not able to track your numbers as a newer agent because you don't know what your numbers are.
Right.
Right, so that's something to be accountable to on how many people you contracting. Don't just contact people. Call them for business,
Purpose.
right? And yeah, be purposeful about it, right? That's what you're learning in Ignite.
So that's a good question. So what would you, and even new agents or experienced agents, if you wanted to have 2 transactions in January, what would you do in week 1 of, what would you do right now in December, week 2 of December? So how would you get the appointments? So who are you gonna call? What are you gonna do? Okay, so you're gonna call your sphere. Okay, so it could be, I'm gonna do 10 contacts to my sphere daily. That would be a specific activity I'm gonna do to try and make sure I get 2 transactions in January.
I like to bring this example up, and if Dennis is watching anywhere, thank you, Dennis, for being a great sport and being awesome at what you do. So Dennis Elliott was barely almost capping, right? He was doing 4 or 5 transactions, something like that. Like he was very minimal and was going to school full time. Like John, what do I need to do to get on that capital? So John said, hey, just call 10 people. Like they worked it out. He said, just call 10 people.
Actually, I said call 5 people.
Call 5 people.
And he's like, what do I need to do? And he was an internet lead guy, so he was trying to like text and email him to like convert him. I was like,
Oh.
set an appointment. And he was like, okay. And I said, and he's like, well, what? I said, can you call 5 people? Because he's like, he's going to school full time. But like, he's going to full time. Actually, get his message. It's like, how do I do 5 people? And he says, 5 people. That's it, John. I can call 10 people. And the next day he called 10 people, 2 listing appointments, 1 buyer appointment. Literally. And he's like, this is awesome. And he has since done 10 calls a day, all weekdays. He just hit his goal for 2022 24 transactions. I'll put 10 calls.
Attendance is one of my highlights, like I love talking.
But do you understand is only one thing he put on his list, 10 contacts a day. Actually, he didn't put 10 contacts, 10 calls.
10 calls.
10 calls a day. It wasn't even contacts, 10 calls a day, that's his business. That's it. And all he does is to make sure he has enough names and numbers to call. He does enough, either open house or to get more names, or internet leads or whatever, to make sure he has enough people.
Do you hear how easy that is?
The hard part is developing the habit of calling every day for 10. That's what this is about. So think of that 401 as habits, plan, skills, those sort of things that you need to develop so that you can be successful in the future. So this isn't necessarily your day-to-day business. It's what you want to work on outside the business. Because what happens in real estate is you go years and years and years and years and years and you do your business, and next thing you know, you're 50 and you're like, sorry, John. Yeah, and you're like, what happened? And you may have some money and you may have some wealth, but you're thinking like, how do I get out of this game? How do I retire and have all the goals I wanted? How do I do that? I'm sure some of you are new, says, I want to do this by 55. I want to do this by 50. I want to do this by 35. Right? How do you do that? How do you do it within 3 years? Say, I'm older and I want to change everything I want to do in 5 years, 3 years. You have to be very, very purposeful. Very purposeful. So, but
One thing, study done about punishment and rewards. So when you're writing these goals out, have your weekly habits that you're trying to build your business up, or transactions, let's say. If you don't meet your habits for that week, punish yourself. Because you will run away from the pain, right? Rather than rewarding, say, oh, like I have a reward thing that I do with myself. Every book I read, I give myself, and I use $100 bill to read through that. Like that's more reward, but I did find that I read more when I punish myself by not watching a sporting event because I didn't do my habits, right? So think of something you like and help keep yourself accountable. And also career development next year will also help you. That's a little plug, but go ahead.
so everyone got the monthly task they need to do for the personal?
How are you gonna?
So you need to translate that to what this next week, we'll do next week, what next week do you gotta do to make that goal happen in 2023? What do you have to do next week to make that monthly goal happen? By the end of December, so, or even in January. So, well, really, if you're gonna work on the real estate goals for January, you have to work, what are you gonna do now by the end of December that makes you reach your goals in January that you're looking for? Right, so we're actually, if you want to do a certain week 2, and if you notice mine, I only have week 1 in there because we're only going through week 1 of December. Right, and so as I enter week 2 as he said on Friday or Sunday, I would go in and I would say, what did I do? What did I didn't do? I like to look at it on Friday because sometimes I can push some stuff out over the weekend. Oh, yeah, I did that. I didn't punch that out. So I punch that out, and that way we can check some boxes and move the next step.
For me, I like Mondays because I get to look at my week. Like, what do I need to remove from my calendar and make sure I have time for business or my physical health or whatever.
So everyone should be writing what they're going to do this week to complete what they want to do for the month, and will help you get to your goal. Everyone have that written down, personal and
Just so you're aware, in real estate, obviously everything's 30 to 90 days out. So when you're planning for February, you should look at early January.
your activities on, especially on the business side of real estate, should really be about the next month, because you can't say, I'm going to get 4 more deals in December. That's not going to happen, right? So really your goals on the real estate side, the activities to get your leads, to get the contracts, to get the appointments, has to be for the next month's goal. So you need to be thinking ahead on real estate, on the business side. The personal, you can do that, it can be relevant, but this one you have to think ahead. So, and that's why we're trying to do this in December. You should be thinking about activities you need to do to make sure January meets your transaction board. That means you gotta, if you don't have clients now, or you have some clients still looking, or think about listing, or think about buying, those are clients you need to get in contract now so they close in January, right? So.
Hopefully they close.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, that's why it's better. If you wanted to close two, if you know this, if you wanted to close 2 in January, you probably should have 3 escrows. Right, to be safe, right? Because inevitably one may delay or fall out or something like that, right? In this, you want to make sure you're hedging your bets.
Everybody that has a little bit of business behavior knows that not everything is. Or it could take a little longer. Right.
And I'm gonna talk a few things about this. One is, remember that it's either
When it comes to units, I think one good piece of advice that I got from a coach a while back, was if you have your annual goal as a unit goal for like business, when you're breaking it down monthly, divide it by 11, not 12.
Yes, yeah.
Because if you divide it by 11, then that tells you what you're gonna do January through November in order to get your production
By December.
done
So-
by December. And it's more productive.
That's 100% correct, because who wants to work 52 weeks out of the year?
It's not realistic, especially if you plan on going to like.
And that's the thing, if you're already at a level where you're taking a lot of vacations, factor that in, because if you're gonna be out, if we're gonna go to Peru for 2 weeks, you know that transaction count, that next one is gonna be lower, so just factor those things. Right?
That's somebody I think.
Exactly.
Birds down while you're gone.
So yeah, so that's why it's good to start in December, because that'll make it a true 12 month, because you're really talking about for your 2023 goals, what you're doing from December through November is really how it works.
Thank you, Mark. That's actually really good.
So stay away from tasks, make sure their goals. Now, when you have your weekly goal, everyone got their weekly stuff? Okay, this is the final step of the 401. You need to go into your phone and your calendar, and you need to block times, make an appointment when you're gonna work on each of those items, and how long it will take. So if you're gonna say, I'm gonna call 10 people a day, then you need to have 5 appointments, or I don't know, how long it'll take you, an hour. Call 10. What? What? Well, it depends on how many people you talk to, but if you, I don't know, if you call right now, most people are not answering. So then we get 2 contacts out of that, right? So whatever case, or you can say, I'm gonna go to 5 contacts, whatever you want, whatever your number is, just imagine how much time it would take you to do that. And then go in your calendar and block it. Right now.
Not the like that.
Yeah, well, okay, I was just working with Dennis, because Dennis hadn't done any real lead gen. He never had that habit. Does that make sense? So that's another thing on habits. If you're developing a new habit, if I told you, you're gonna go run a marathon in a month. It's not gonna really.
Who's gonna do that?
So I would say like this, can you go and walk every day? For the month of December? Because what I need to teach you, if you never ran before, I need to teach you the habit of getting up and moving every morning. Getting outside and moving. I gotta teach you that habit so your brain gets used to it. That way, when I ask you to run next month and jog, and I'm gonna tell you, jog for, 20 seconds, walk for a minute, jog for 20 seconds. Like, so you see those couch to 5K, programs, things like that. The reason is they build it up because you don't wanna, the habits are harder to build if you just kind of go, right?
So there's a great coaching example on getting like gym, going to the gym. There's this guy, he was pretty overweight. Starting his coach was like, hey, I want to lose weight and I want to get in the habit to go to the gym. And his coach actually told him, was like, hey, just drive to the gym. Don't even go inside. So that first week he just drove, made the habit of driving to the gym. And then the next week he was going inside, spent 5 minutes in there. You don't even have to lift the weight, but getting the habit, driving to there, going in, and then later on, I think he ended up losing like 230 pounds. Like, obviously that didn't happen overnight, but he got into the habit. In the Army, he used to say breaking it down Barney style. What that means is going to the easiest level. For Dennis, it was 10 calls, not even 10 contacts, right? And for a newer agent, it could be 5 calls, right? Just doing it Monday through Friday at a set time. On my calendar, my lead gen time, my wake up time's there, my lead gen time, and then I have 3 appointment slots per day, right? For buyers or sellers. So if anything wants to get scheduled outside of that, and my team notifies me, okay, this client has to meet at this time, or I have to work later this day. That's fine, as long as those appointment slots can be done, right? So my appointment times are all set, right?
Small repeatable.
So that's what I want to say. take everything down that looks daunting to you and break it down as small as you can make it. And does anyone have a goal here they're willing to share? I know. Okay, 40 transactions. So 40 transactions. What do you put as your monthly to that? Four. So 4 deals. So what do you put as week 2? Or what do you put down as your week 2? What would it take you to close 4 deals in January? Okay. And contacts a day.
Saturday.
This is Friday. Okay. And contacts a day. Do you know who you're calling?
Yeah, so I have like grant, I know by certain days. I have something I do and
Okay, so you're calling a sphere
DTV too, so.
or just on past clients?
Yeah.
Or clients or future client bets, okay. So you just know who you're gonna call. I'm gonna call daily, 10 contacts a day. So how long do you think that'll take?
I usually set aside like an hour.
Okay, so 1 hour every day. You're gonna make 10 contacts. So, 1 hour a day, 10 contacts, and you think that's enough to get you 4 transactions next in January? Is that enough activity?
So I also hold 42 houses. Like also.
Okay, so you're gonna hold them in December, because if you're gonna try to close January, you need to meet them now. So, and almost like I'd recommend you have to do it like 2 this week, or maybe, at worst week 3, because December, they're gonna check out, right? So, okay, so yeah, so if you want to do open houses as a way to get, then you need to make sure that you front load those in December, right? So if you're doing open houses. So that's what you need to think about, how you're doing your activities, so you can do that. That's a great example. Anyone have a personal goal they'd like to share? Fitness or weight or something?
Take a trip to Walt Disney World for my daughter's birthday.
Okay, and how much would it take to go there? $6,000.
Does that include food?
That's it?
Yeah, it was like, I thought 20 minutes.
That's airfare.
And when do you want to do this? October, so you're gonna back on the time, how are you gonna generate that money?
I need to take 500 a month.
Okay, so how are you gonna save 500 a month? 3 transactions a month, and you can save 500 a month about your expenses. Okay, so how are you gonna do 3 transactions? Or in January, I should say. Alright, what are you gonna do?
Doing open house this week. I am making 10 phone calls this week and every week. Not the same contacts, but 10 phone calls. Like I did.
10 phone calls a week?
A day, I'm sorry.
So those are your experience, if he calls, is that all? Is that it? Okay, if he does an open house this week. And he does 10 calls daily this week and through December. Do you think he'll have 3 deals next week?
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Hey, Vince, I have an open house you can do for me.
So what would be your punishment?
Open house. How many people are you gonna find that wanna buy right now at the open house? Right now, because you have to be qualified to buy right now to close in January, right? That means they're shopping right now, pre-approved, or that you can get easily pre-approved and go to the shopping. That's what you're gonna have to buy. So I say that's pretty hard. Because I don't think you're gonna get that much attendance at an open house in December, and I think you're gonna have less people that are willing to buy right now. in December. Those events, I need to hit those things.
The number of game open houses, if you do 4 a month, you're most likely gonna get 1 transaction that month.
That month.
Yes.
Right, so I'm gonna say, if you want to line up 3 next month, if you want to line 3 next month, and you does 1 open house, I would say that 1 open house isn't gonna guarantee a buyer.
One open house guarantees like 1 transaction a quarter, or possibly every 4th month.
Yeah,
You have to do 4 open houses a month in order to be guaranteed. If
one
you at some
transaction.
point to get 1
yeah,
transaction from them.
yeah. So, but if you call your sphere, you're probably gonna have a better result. So, but you have to really call your sphere, right? you're gonna say, hey, what are you looking to do in 2023? And then convince them to move now as opposed to in January, right? Or after. Why? You have to convince them to move over the hecticness of Christmas. Like, we want to move during Christmas. Or, we want to move right after Christmas. You have to start now. So I want to impress upon you, you can say activities, but if your activities, if we go through week 2 and you got 0, week 3 it needs to be like double the activities, right? I mean, you need to compensate your activities to the results. And that's what I can tell you that the difference between top producers and non-top producers in this business is they own the result. They don't own the activities. If the activities are not meeting the result, they adjust the activities to meet the result.
Can use the 15th protocol to modify your activities for week 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So if you're doing open houses week 1 and 2 and you're not at goal and you're looking for business right now, week 3 should be focused around calling ECWs, because those are clients that have already raised their hand and said,
Yeah.
I want to do business right now.
So that's what we do. So on our team, if by the 15th of the previous month, if we don't have enough transactions for the next month lined up, everything stops. All hands on deck. All we do is make appointments. Everyone on the team stops and makes appointments. And then we go to our ABC list, if we have clients, and we say, who on the B's can you move up to A's? Rich, call those people, say that with A's, see if you can get someone to move, right? Who on our old list that needs to call now?
What are opportunities can move?
That we can move them one forward, right? So we do all that. Or like, okay, we don't have anybody. Great, Rich, you're doing 2 open houses this week, right? So those are things where we have to do, and like Arn said, you adjust your activities to meet the goal, not the other way around. It's not saying, oh, I tried, I did 10 contacts, I got nothing for January.
If you don't know what the 15th protocol is, we kind of gave it this little synopsis there. It's by the 15th of that month, so, okay, January is next month, we have 6 or 7 lined up, depending on what happens yesterday. But come the 15th of this month, we don't have 3 more, it's like, boom, everybody's in here, right, doing calls on Saturday, like I did this weekend, like just, can I move forward, check on the ABC list, and
And we even have staff like, okay, go and come in and start texting our old leads.
right,
Like we just, just everyone find an appointment, right? Find an appointment.
we're knocking, I did flyers for the donation drive outside of Release and set an appointment for that, right? Maybe have a client going into the new year from that, just from figuring out flyers. So literally, you can scrum up business, but like, really doesn't matter, just go get it.
Okay, and this is about creating standards in your life. Creating standards in your life. And I want to say this, you guys all wrote down the goal for 2000, how many transactions do you want, right? How many says to say for monthly, how many transactions do you want to close? You want to just put up a hand, how many? 4, 1, 2. 3.
I got you, yeah.
2.5, okay, 2.5. How many people in November close that amount? In November, did you close that amount?
Yes.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Did you close that? If you put up a 4 or 3 or 1, did you close that in November? If you didn't close that, then that's not really your standard.
That's a great point.
Your standard is 0. If you close 0, your standard is 0. That means you're willing to accept making no money that month in your life, and that's okay. And I tell you, the teams, the top producers that don't, they're not okay with that. If we're getting down to 2, 3 escrows, I start screaming at Rich, the hell, right?
Shaking me a little.
Yes, so think about that, like, it's because top producers have standards, and they put their standards here, and the standards mean something.
Yeah, that on a team, and the owner of the team kind of said, yeah, you guys have a big goal, if you want to take the difference.
Yeah.
Going back to the marathon, right, if that's really your goal, what are you gonna do? So bring that up, like I'm doing a 50K run in March, it's like literally backtrack, okay, 12 weeks, how many miles do I have to run 3 times a week to build up to that 30 miles, right? John doesn't think I can do it, but
Oh, I think you can do it, I'm not saying that.
the same thing with your real estate goals, right? Same thing with your investment, same with your family goals, dating once a week, is that realistic?
Oh, no.
No.
Is that something that
I'd rather have a bigger goal and like make it part of the way than not, because if I don't, then I make it smaller, then I really get.
And
Sorry,
the saying is like, aim for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land in the stars, right? So.
And I can tell you, we do a daily habit tracker. And literally we had this tracker in the black book that said like, how many, if I said, run every morning, run every day for 45 minutes. And every day on the tracker, you would track it and say, did I actually do it? And then at the end, if you say you had 7 days running, I'm gonna diet, whatever, do call time, whatever, all this stuff.
Meditate, drink a gallon of
Whatever,
water.
all these habits you want in your life, and you put it out there and you add it up, all the days that you said you'd do something, you add it up, and then whatever you actually did, you check, and then you do a ratio and say, that's a score. So if I did half of what I said I would do,
50%.
I get 50%. First level was 13%. And then I went up to like 25. I'm hitting this thing, I'm like, beat myself up. And then what happened is I didn't even get to 100%. If I got to 70%, man, my week
That's
was
like your
awesome.
week.
I felt great that whole week. This is moved forward. We got the transactions, I got the recruits, everything's happy. It all moves forward because I did have it that week. And I can tell you that my feelings, how I felt about the week, how much momentum I had in my life, really revolved around that habit tracker. I could put as many goals as I wanted there, but if I didn't do the habits, nothing, it didn't. Like it moved as fast as my habits, literally.
It's interesting. I think my highest week on that was like 90. It was phenomenal. Everything else was like 50 to 60.
Do you review that again?
What's that? Yeah, so sometimes you'll get to a habit where you're doing it,
Regularly.
it becomes a habit where you're just hitting 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, like on your habit tracker it's a 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, like you're just doing it. Then I would say upgrade that habit or remove that habit and put another habit that makes you go up the higher, right? So, and that's almost habits. All this is about habits. So this is what you have to. So that's why it's not a task list. It's how you're going to meet your goals. And you need to time block it. If you just write it here and do not put it in your calendar, you will not do it. I guarantee it. So whatever you write here, you need to put that on your calendar. You just say how much time is it going to take me, and you're going to block your calendar. Say I'm going to call every day 10 people. You need to put every weekday, but enough time to call 10 people. If you're doing an open house, put the open house on the schedule. Even if you don't have one lined up, put it on the schedule and say I'm doing an open house here, and go find it. Right? Does that make sense? So people. Top producers put the time on their schedule and then they make it fulfilled, right? So, yes.
You have it, 2 months ago. I was having a heck of a time getting the Pilates class, right? So I just literally put it on my calendar.
Yeah,
And
look what.
you have to call Dave to get the slot.
Yeah.
So you just put it on my calendar for Mondays and Thursdays. And you know that I've been going every Monday and Thursday. Because I did it.
You just put all the time.
So I look at my calendar, and go, oh shit, I got a public Pilates.
The interesting part about all of this stuff, and it goes back to your personal belief about yourself, self-worth, and valuing yourself, right? So being intelligent and holding yourself accountable, and you can actually build up if you lack self-esteem or something like that. You got small habits in your small goals, and when you start doing that, you can actually build a relationship with yourself because you are actually your best friend. So treat yourself as such. And remember, like outside of real estate, outside of everything you care about yourself, when you have integrity around your schedule, you have integrity around yourself, right? You will feel better as a human, like just outside of real estate.
And that's what I tell people is one of my principles in life is integrity. And people say, it's being integrity, truthful to the other person. But the number one person you lie to most often in your life is yourself. Right. Yourself. And so no, really. Every time you say I'm going to do this and don't do it, even if you're like, whatever, subconsciously your mind is telling you you're a loser, you didn't make this happen, like you can't do this, you suck, right? And so have integrity around your life. And I can tell you that's the difference between most people not if they have integrity in life when they say they're going to do something to do. Right. And you'll learn eventually as you go down that road, you're going to start realizing I need to set up my mornings. I need to go to bed by 10 o'clock if I want to do all this. You're going to start lining up that habits. You're going to realize all these habits you need to do to have that life. I can tell you anyone that's super wealthy and doing it well, they have habits around their life. Strict habits. Right? Strict habits. So this is what the 411 is. And honestly, if you live in a high level of accountability, that's when you'll have freedom. I know it sounds stupid. It sounds so crazy. And I did this as a new agent. People were like, And it's tedious, it'll get tedious, trust me, it'll feel tedious, it'll feel like a burden, it will. But once you get momentum with it, it will feel like nothing you felt like before. It'll feel like your life and your business have this tremendous momentum going like this. I know we all want to go. I think back to a time when you had a life, when everything was going right, everything you did was like, wow, it's going like that. You want that life all the time. Well, not all the time. Most of the time, it's going to be like, it's all the time. All the time. That's what I'm saying. So, and when you're living this, and something that would normally rock your world, some trauma from family or something that would rock your world in the past won't rock your world now, right? Because you know what your priorities are. You know what's important. So that is the form. Any questions? Ahas?
Yeah.
There's a lot of new faces in the room and that I don't know. So I'm John Manking, and I just want to let you guys know I am super excited to be friends with a soon-to-be billionaire in 3 years. Right? Is it 2 years or 5 years?
That's my dream. I will,
In 5 years.
Andy knows this, Andy and I had great conversation around this conversation about, I do have an astronomical goal. But when I look at my life and how and all of you can be included. Be nice.
I'm gonna say, people in this room that are highly successful, they look exactly like you.
They put on pants the same way I do.
They have the same amount of 24 hours in the day.
I do want to say, John touched on this, new faces in here. Before COVID, we used to see a lot of this. And I encourage each of you, when I first started my real estate journey, I was in here daily, at that island over there, making calls, doing what I needed to do, right? In here. So being in here, being part of the culture, you'll see what the KW family is all about, what John and I stand for, what the ALC is all about. And I see a bunch of us members in here. I think most of us are in here.
I mentioned Rich's goal because we all have different goals, and mine is 1.5 billion. I'd be happy with 100 million. But what I want to share 2 points. First of all, as long as you put it down in paper, this is a simple concept, but a very effective tool. I am almost to the point of idolizing both of these guys because I went on a 2-week journey with them.
There was no ayahuasca.
And I started practicing it and encouraging my team to do it. We normally average around 1 or 2 open houses a month.
On a team.
Because of them encouraging me to do this and working on my 411, we're now averaging 6 to 8 open houses a week. What that has produced? That has produced my newest buyer's agent to have 1 in escrow in the first month and 2 from Brian, and they're both encouraged. They're both gonna do it every week now. So the key here is consistency and faithfully, fanatically taking action.
Yeah.
The more you put, the more specific you do, the better it is. But another point, it's okay to cheat. But remember, when you're cheating yourself. So cheat productively. What do I mean by that? If you look at my goals, my goal is to read a book once a week. Is that possible with our business schedule? Yes and no. Okay?
It's hard.
But it is okay to cheat. Let me show you how to cheat. And I read a book a week.
Listen.
This is good.
Sign up with Blinkist. Sign up with Blinkist. Because Blinkist would make you read or listen to 2 or 3 different books a week.
There's another one called Headway, also that summarizes books in 10 to 15 minutes, stuff like that. Also, what?
My last one.
It's like the whole thing. I'm like, hey, I want all the nuances.
My last point, this is your point, I'm just emphasize it. I heard earlier, 10 calls, do not SLB, get away from SLB, this is from him, this is from Rich. Do not have self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Do you really have 10 people is calling 10 people a day hard? No, because if you don't have anybody to call your barber, call your nail
Call your
salon,
doctor.
call anybody.
Call your
There's
parents.
no excuse. What are you doing?
That's another thing. As you evolve with the data and culture, start bigger and bigger, like the world opens up to you in a magnificent way. My only goal before was like 200 transactions. What does that look like, right? Then I found what really touches me is us veterans and foster youth and stuff like that. So it's okay to, if your goals aren't astronomical just yet, you'll build into that. Don't focus on.
You grow into it.
Yeah.
But your goal, your goals need to be what's most sanely emotional to you. So your goal may be, I have a lot of stress because I have a lot of debt right now. And that's causing me a lot of stress. And if I remove that stress, I would be a much happier person. I don't care, then your goals pay off that debt, right? I mean, literally, it doesn't have to be that turns out. It's got to be what makes you get up and move out, go up and get up in the morning and move out the door. That's the goal you need to write down.
One way to look at it is what makes you excited to jump out of bed. You left a 9 to 5. What makes you excited about being in this industry? What do you want to do? How many people do you want to touch with and inspire through your journey?
Any other thoughts?
If you like one-on-one time to talk about goal planning and all that stuff, I'll make myself available over the next coming weeks. I know holiday season, I'm going to be here. Also, I am going to plug this again. Career Development Committee next year is all about getting people on that capital wall.
So you decided your committee on.
I haven't decided yet. I'm just plugging that. Whatever ALC member is doing that, we are also asking, like, hey, if you're an agent that wants, you're coming in at a trying time, right? We're down 45%, right, on our escrows in Sacramento County from last year. Do you want to stay in the business? You left another business to come into this and to build your career that you chose, right? You get to build it yourself. Great wealth amongst your family and friends and everything like that. So Career Development Committee will help you reach those goals.
And I would say what Rich and I talked about career development is really being an accountability. So if you want to join that committee, you're going to sign a covenant that says, I'm going to do a formal. My numbers, want to see how a high team operates, we're going to run it like accountability, like a high team. You're going to sign a covenant that says, I'm going to do this. And we're going to say, if we're going to do this, we're going to pour into this. We're going to help you with scripts. We're going to help you with your goals. We're going to help you with closing appointments, right? Like those sort of things. We're going to give you advice because we want you to move toward your. But we're going to demand a lot. We're going to say you have to be accountable to what you said, and then we're going to be like, if you're not accountable, like what happened? You said you were going to do this, you didn't do it. Why?
Your buyers and sellers sign agreements. You're going to sign an agreement on the career development. All right.
And I want powerful this. I want you to take your personal goals. And I want you to tell your significant other, I'm going to make this much money for you next year. Okay. Oh.
I'm telling that.
No, spend it. No, charge it on the credit card. Okay, depending on how spending they are.
Anything else for the good of the group? Any questions? Any
Okay, I want to close with one thing. Everything is a choice. And we talked about habits. It's a choice. The difference between where you are now, I believe in anything in 3 to 5 years, you can change everything in your life. Everything. I don't care where you are, where you're starting for now. You can be a millionaire in 3 to 5 years. I have no doubt about it.
Billionaire.
Billionaire. You can be a billionaire. Yes, actually, anything you want 5 years, you can achieve it. It's just about choices. It's about choices. So this helps you make better choices. So I tell Rich, be better, and I mean be better choices.
Well, people weren't coming. If you would like to do script practice, we'll bring them in.
And definitely part of career development, we're talking about making a little weekly short check-in. We would practice Monday check-ins, weekly short check-ins. And then one day a month will be a bigger appointment, bigger meeting where we do.
We'll announce it more in January.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind if you want to stay in this business.
Okay, I encourage you to make your Form 1s public. We will send you, everyone here, we will send you out the template, one that you see us do. It's all in Google Sheets, and so you can type your stuff in if you want to. If you have an office or a cubicle, go ahead and post it. I'd like to see it.
Oh.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great day. We appreciate you coming and sharing your time with us. We know how valuable it is, and have a happy holidays.
Thank you.